What's going on, guys? Steve Taylor here, and welcome to part 4 of building bigger arms. So today we're going to talk about the long head of the triceps brachii muscle and then go through a couple of exercises which favor its activation. So like we talked about last week, your triceps brachii muscle consists of 3 heads. You have the long head, the lateral head, and the medial head. What makes this long head unique is that unlike the other 2 heads, which attach to the back of the humerus, this long head actually crosses the shoulder joint and attaches to the scapula. So that means, unlike the other 2 heads, which only extend the elbow, the long head also helps to extend the shoulder as well as adduct the shoulder. So when it comes to training the long head and prioritizing it, the best way to do this is going to be any kind of exercise where our triceps are stretched and our arm is overhead. What that does is it stretches this long head, which increases its activation. So that means any kind of overhead triceps extension or lying triceps extension where our elbows are up by our head, any of those exercises are going to be great for increasing recruitment of the long head. And don't get me wrong, all these exercises still will work your lateral head, your medial head, they'll still work all 3 heads because you're still extending the elbow. It's just these overhead exercises and these lying exercises when your elbows are up by your head, it just puts your triceps in a position that mechanically favors the recruitment of the long head. So now at that, let's head downstairs and go through a couple exercises.
So the first exercise we're going to do is called the seated cable overhead triceps extension, and we're going to do this using the rope attachment. And then one thing I like to do is actually have somebody hand me the rope versus twist around and grabbing it myself. I find that when I do this, it puts a lot of negative tension on my spine. So the first thing we want to do is get our elbows set in place. So they should be pointed up towards the ceiling, and then they should be tucked in, so they shouldn't be pointed in front of us. And one trick I've learned is that if you're missing some shoulder range of motion, you can actually position your hips slightly forward on the bench, and this will allow you to get your elbows pointed more up towards the ceiling to where they should be. The key is, if you do this, just make sure you keep your core tight and don't overly arch your back. Again, as you do the exercise, really let that cable pull you back to get a good stretch on the triceps and keep your elbows tucked in and pointed upwards. And then one thing I like to do is really focus on keeping the cable pulled apart the entire time as I go through the range of motion. So the next exercise we're going to do is called the lying dumbbell triceps extension. And I like to do this exercise using dumbbells versus a barbell or an easy curl bar, just because I found it allows you to keep your wrists in a nice neutral position and you don't get that negative strain that you sometimes get when you use a barbell or an easy curl bar. And another benefit is I've also noticed that with dumbbells, it allows me to keep my elbows in a much better position. So if you're somebody who experiences a lot of elbow pain when you do this exercise, try doing it with dumbbells and see if that feels better. Again, as we set up for this exercise, just lay down on the bench with your arms fully extended and allow those dumbbells to pull your arms, your shoulders backwards into the deep shoulder flexion. As you do this, just make sure you keep your back flat against the bench and don't arch. And then as you notice, my elbows are actually pointed behind me versus upwards towards the ceiling. By keeping our elbows pointed backwards, it allows us to keep tension on the triceps the entire time, and you don't get that pause at the top where you lose tension. And then again, just slowly lower the weight down and allow the dumbbells to pull your arms back to get a good stretch on that triceps. Once you have a good stretch, contract back up using only your triceps muscle. There should be no movement at your shoulders. And once you finish the rep, your elbow should actually still be pointed behind you versus up straight towards the ceiling.
Alright guys, there you go. I hope you enjoyed the video. This is the last video of the Building Bigger Arms series, so if you guys have any ideas for future videos you'd like to see, leave a comment in the comment section below. Don't forget to give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. Alright guys, thanks for watching and I'll see you next week.